Hey guys, it's me, Paul Willis, from your Introduction to Logic class, and this is my own presentation on what I've learned for our Introduction to Logic. Um, I titled my presentation as Critical Thinking and Your Work. Uh, I honestly did not think much about critical thinking when I first took this class, or much to logical thinking. I thought I was pretty logical, but as I learned that there's a lot more things I could have improved on, and some of the things that I've learned is what I'm about to share with you throughout the class. And I'm sure a lot of you have learned the same things as I have, but it's kind of nice to review and see if you have similar views or we can learn from each other. Now, the first thing we talked about was what is a critical thinker. Now, a critical thinker is the first 2 points is someone I came up with is someone who can properly manage their emotions so they can use them and logical thinking to come up with solutions and decisions. When we first think of logical thinking or maybe even critical thinking, we may at first think about being cold cut from emotions. That is not true. I learned that what critical thinking is being able to use your emotions without having them controlling you. For example, is in the heat of a moment when you're maybe like mad at someone or you're just really sad about a situation, you don't make a ridiculous you don't make a ridiculous decision based on your emotions, like punching a wall. I even had I had family members who punched through a wall, but I had seen people throw logs and chairs and things like that. It's both scary and funny at the same time. But once we're able to manage our emotions and not let them control them, we can make positive and great decisions when in that spot. We can still be angry, but we know how to properly show that to people. Another step is a critical thinker is someone who comes up with decisions while having facts to support their conclusions. Um, a lot of times we go into an argument or we go into an idea thinking that we have to be the winner, we have to be right. A critical thinker, I don't necessarily say they're always right, but if they are right or what they firmly believe is true, they make sure they have facts to support them, that they know that they've done their research, that they are truly, truly prepared to answer the questions and they thought things through. Now, many things, this is good. Being critical thinkers is good, but since we're all kind of learning to be more better in our careers and our workplace, when we are critical thinkers, it is likely to improve our business performance while being an example to our fellow coworkers who may look up to us, who may come to decisions. A quick example I have is when I used to be a special education teacher's assistant. Um, if the teacher wasn't available or sick, I often stepped up and took her position. Or when people needed ideas, they asked me for help because I would often know what to do. Um, Probably a good example of this. Another good example is one day I was walking back from lunch and I saw one of my coworkers. He was just kind of pacing around. He looked kind of, I want to say panicked. Yeah, he looked panicked. And then I looked past him and I saw a kid on the floor. And talking to him briefly in his panic mode, he said, it looked like the student was having a stroke, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what if he should abandon the child to go get someone, or if he should just stay with the child just in case he wakes up, and he just didn't know what to do. But being a critical thinker at that moment, I was able to tell him, saying, I'll stay with this child. I need you to go to your teacher, tell him what happened, tell them to call the office and the nurse to send him down here. Then what I want you to go do is go get this teacher who I work with, and she knows what to do in situations with a seizure. She's really well experienced. I'll stay with the child, help him do what I know what to do, and then the other teacher and I just continue on. And that's just an example. And we will always look up. If we can prove that we can handle ourselves in the business, people will come looking towards us. And our managers would see us great opportunities, great workers, which will increase our payment or even give us promotions through our work, our career. Continuing on is some ways we can become critical thinkers. Clarity is a good one to start with. We gotta make sure when we speak and when we present our ideas, we gotta be clear, and nothing's jumbling up. Can't be rambling on like sometimes I'm doing this presentation, or we can't put in confusing facts that don't exactly make sense if there's no other resource. Make sure we are credible. It is more likely to be respected, or our ideas to be respected or heard, if we can support it with facts, to show like this will work, this is why it works, and this is how some examples of it work. Even if the person does not like it, they can't really deny the fact that you've done your research if you have something of a good idea. Relevance. Make sure every point is together. Make sure when you give a point, it is part of the solution or the problem and at the state of hand. Don't be like, cats are fluffy, that's why I like dogs, and that kind of thing. That's not relevant. Saying dogs are proven to be loyal, to stay with you, and I often had pet dogs in the past who were there when I was sick and were there when I was growing up, so that's why I like dogs. That is some relevant points. Also be complete. Make sure everything we have is a complete thought. Once again, don't ramble. Don't mix up your words. Make sure you end it and don't continue on. And we gotta sound reasonable, not crazy, which may sometimes be hard. I remember a time where I was listening to some Mormon missionaries talking about them knocking on doors, and some person was telling them how wrong with the church, but anyone who listened to them just basically he was crazy. Like, none of the points made sense. He would ramble on and things like that. And overall, people just thought, yeah, the man yelling at these Mormons were crazy, rather than he was making points. All right, continue on. We also have to be aware of our emotions. If not managed properly, our emotions can be causes to our decisions and reasons to be illogical thoughts, or even make us commit a fallacy or false information. More information on fallacies, it's like there's several different types, which is kind of amazing. But fallacies are things that are not true or do not have the right respectable support that they need. Like, examples could be things are not relevant, like we talked about. Perhaps the information comes from someone who's not certified, such as a celebrity saying that something that's proven true is actually false. They're not a movie actor is not qualified to say gravity is actually gravy and does not exist. Emotions are good, though. We need to remember that, though. They just need to be balanced. Some ideas I found helpful, but also ways I want to keep working, are to meditate on our thoughts to keep them balanced. Also keep a journal when we realize when we are mad, angry, or happy. See what triggers us. And we also need to just be more self-aware of our emotions that causes things to do that. Now, I got a video here. It's about 3 minutes long, but I'm going to try to shorten it real quick. It is, all credit goes towards the local comedy producers, Studio C. And this is kind of overall and what not to do in arguments. All right, let's begin. Skip here.
Hello, Miss Carr.
Wait, who are these people?
I'm your attorney.
So they're fighting over for the shotgun seat. Of the
Oyez, oyez, oyez! All rise for the Honorable Judge Everton.
You may be seated.
Your Honor, according to the Dibs and Regularization Act of 1996, a party lacks standing to call shotgun unless they're on the same surface of the vehicle, as was my client in this case.
While true, Your Honor, the Awkwardness Amendment of 2002 provides an exception, requiring that all members of an awkward love triangle be seated together in the back seat.
And is there such a love triangle here, Counselor?
I call Matt, Natalie, and Whitney to the stand.
Oh, no.
Place your hands on your iPhones. Do you solemnly swear to give the process of deciding who rides shotgun an irrational amount of attention in social settings?
Seriously, what's happening?
Whitney, you have feelings for Matt, don't you? That's a yes.
I didn't say yes. Let the record show that Miss Call did not say yes, but we all know she is crushing on Matt hard.
And Natalie, you like Matt too, correct?
Well,
Jinx.
Your witness is jinxed and can no longer testify.
Dang it. No, wait, I have a Coke.
It doesn't matter, Adam. No love triangle exists here, and even if it did, you wouldn't hear it from me.
Matt, you have feelings for Natalie and Whitney, don't you?
No.
I've seen enough. Awkwardness amendment applies. The three of you must sit in the back seat together and feel uncomfortable as you try and get all the seatbelts buckled. Now, Counselor, at this point, it looks like no one will have the front seat.
Normally, yes, Your Honor, but I would like to submit evidence that last Thursday, Whitney forwarded an email to all of her friends, promising her good luck for a whole week.
It might be enough.
And Matt declined to forward that very same email.
You are a menace to society.
Okay, Your Honor, while my client was the weak link in last week's chain letter, that is not grounds for conviction. And at 11:11 last night, he made a wish to ride shotgun in Jason's car today.
That is the lamest wish ever, but yes.
And by saying it out loud, you have made it null and void.
If there are no further arguments...
Wait! My client demands a verdict by game of MASH.
No one has invoked that right since the early 90s, but if you insist... Slug bug yellow! Front seat to Whitney.
So this was just a funny little video kind of showing some examples of fallacies that we have in our situation. Then one thing I want to point out first of all is relevance. Now they were fighting over shotgun or the passenger side, front passenger side of a vehicle to ride in. However, none of their points really mattered or really made a point on why they should be able to sit in the front. Like such a things like, oh, I was standing on the same surface of a car, or another one was like, oh, I sent this viral email to a bunch of people and the other person did not. None of that's relevant. A lot of it, and it really just came down to see who can punch the first person first when they saw a car. If they were critical thinkers, in this case, none of this silliness would happen. Maybe critical thinking would have been a little bit longer, but when you use a critical thinking in this situation, such as, for example, perhaps the guy could have said, the woman is smaller. She would be a lot more comfortable sitting in the back and giving more space to both of the people who would sit in the back. Or the woman could even say, like, hey, look, I know that this guy has a crush on this girl. Might as well just give it to him. It really does depend on like having more ways to think about instead of just relying on emotions or things that come in the moment. And that's kind of what critical thinking is all about, is when you're stuck in a moment where it kind of forces your emotions to come, you control those emotions and you stand out on the top instead of being below. That is the end of my presentation though. Here's my works cited page to thank all the places that I got inspiration during this presentation. Thank you guys so much for listening, and Happy New Year's to you all. Hope you have a good day. Bye.